Hello everybody, it's Zephyrin225 here with yet another Let's Play of a GameCube game you probably never heard of. It is a decade-old game. It came out in 2005 and had a sequel on the Wii 2 years later, but it's been lying dormant ever since. This is a game made by ghoooost Entertainment. They're owned by Nintendo, apparently. The game is Battalion Wars, and you're probably thinking that has some relation to Advance Wars. As a matter of fact, it does! ghoooost Entertainment has stated in an interview somewhere, I believe, that they are fans of Advance Wars and wanted to make a game in that series, but they wanted to do things a little differently. And I gotta say, they did a good job. Battalion Wars is a game that has a lot of effort put into it. They really wanted to make a good game, and they gave it their all, and it shows, because I really like this game, and a lot of other people did too. Now this game lets you replay all of the levels as much as you like, which is helpful for somebody doing an LP or trying to get high scores.
The demilitarized zone on the border between the western frontier and the Tundran territory. For months now, the site of an uneasy truce between two mighty armies. This is a waiting game, with both sides primed to retaliate in the event of a preemptive strike. But on this historic day, control of the Tundran Empire passes from the iron grip of Tsar Gorgi into the more progressive hands of his son and heir, Marshal Nova. And with Nova in charge, there are those who dare to whisper that this time, peace might just endure.
War is a contact sport, gentlemen. Sack that defensive line. Go, go, go! Now line up! Our boys are getting mighty twitchy down there. We got the men, we got the playbook. Where's the conflict?
The world is changing, Herman.
Looks like this truce could last a long, long time.
What? You gotta be pulling my pin.
But if we have to fight, then fight we shall.
In the meantime, the men are getting out of shape. How about we organize a little sortie to perk up their spirits?
A field exercise. With live ammo, of course.
Oh, sometimes the voice acting in this game makes me want to puke. Fortunately, I'll be shutting them up during the actual gameplay, but you'll have to suffer for the cutscenes. That should be enough of the voice acting for you to give your opinion on it.
Come in, Commander. This is Brigadier Betty speaking. Frontier Command has chosen you to carry out a recon mission along our border with the Tundran territories. It's been a while since your battalion saw combat, so I'm going to be putting you through your paces before you head out on patrol.
So first up, we have a little tutorial mission. Battalion Wars is half third-person shooter, half real-time strategy. For this first section here, they're going to be teaching us how to control ourselves. You can lock on to things and fire at them, you can jump, and you can also do rolls with a B button here. Pretty basic shooter elements.
Bring 'em on!
Yes, and if you listen closely, your men will be talking throughout the game, and they have amusing things to say, so it's a good idea to keep your ears open if you want a little extra entertainment. Now you can also hold the R button to aim manually. That's important in a couple spots, and apparently they wanted me to look at that in a thing in a certain way. Strange. And I have no idea why this stretch here is so long. Apparently it's to take in the surprisingly good GameCube graphics, although I am noticing a little popping in the draw distance there. Anyways, that enemy is flagged to be invincible. Now watch carefully. In just 5 seconds after vanishing, he managed to set up a listening post. I have no idea how he managed to set that up so fast, and there's even more of them later on. Well then. Now, gold stars on our radar here are the very obvious flying in the sky objective marker. And hey, flying enemies! These float around for a little bit and then slow down so you can actually hit them. I have no idea how those got into Western Frontier territory so quickly, but I guess... I don't even know. You don't want to ask questions about this game. It's a lot like Advance Wars. Flying unit being stopped by dive submarine, things like that. There's going to be a lot more target practice later on. I guess they didn't think we had gotten used to the controls of this game yet. Although one particular spy balloon that's coming up here will illustrate a very present problem with this game, and that's if you just aim and shoot at a moving target, you will often miss completely. Fortunately, the spy balloons stop moving, but sometimes you've got to account for the fact that you have to shoot where the flying thing is going to be rather than straight at it. That's basic Space Invaders strategy right there. Now, I mentioned this game is half third-person shooter and half real-time strategy. You might be wondering where the real-time strategy elements come in. They will be demonstrated at the end of this level, but first, we have the only unit in the game that does not vanish completely upon death. And if you shoot at him, more stars come out. I am a cruel person. And they also demonstrate swimming right here. You can swim in this game, but only with infantry units, and you will almost never swim. It leaves you completely vulnerable to getting shot. Okay, here's where the real-time strategy elements come in. I now have control of these soldiers right here. I can use the X button to switch between them standing still and following me. Also, as we'll see a little bit later, I demonstrate it right around here. If you use the Y button, you can direct units to move to specific places. That's very helpful, and they will go right back to standing still. While they are standing still, they are more active about taking out enemies as they approach. While they're following you, they tend to follow whatever you're doing. So you got to keep that in mind. It's not something the game touches upon very often. And of course you can command them to shoot at things, and we finally have real combat here. These are just rifle grunts. They're the most basic unit in the game, and they carry rifles, obviously. And every time you shoot down an enemy, it will drop a health pack for you to pick up. Now, one interesting thing about this game that makes it really unique, in my opinion, is that you are not limited to controlling the unit you start with. You can actually switch to and take control of any other unit that's with you at the moment, which is what I'm supposed to do with this light recon right here. I really like driving the light recon, but unfortunately for this level, as soon as we get up this hill, the level ends as soon as we get down there. So, it was fun while it lasted, but we'll have to wait to see more of the light recon. Consider that a little preview.
Prepare yourselves for defeat, decadent frontier cowboys!
Zargorgi, your presence here is a clear breach of the terms of the ceasefire. What do you think you're doing?
Making war, Brigadier Betty. Isn't this what Frontier Command has been waiting for?
But I thought Marshal Nova wanted peace.
I think the assembled might of my personal army speaks for the Marshal's intentions, Brigadier.
Oh my goodness, they're really overacting in this game. It gets better in the sequel, don't worry. So, at the end of every level, you get a score. Speed is how quickly you move through the level. Power is the number of enemies taken out, and technique has to do with how many units you lost. So, very similar scoring system to Advance Wars, and yes, it does hate you in this game too. On to the next level. And yes, I'm going to be silent for the cutscenes, so take in as much of that rich voice acting that you want. Or just hit the mute button.
General Herman here, Commander. Do you copy? Here's the bad news. Tsar Gorgy's launched an all-out attack. Which means our position is now behind enemy lines. But here's the good news. You're gonna join forces with the boys from Bravo Company. We'll see if we can't get us a piece of the action.
Ah, American stereotypes. We start out here with 5 rifle grunts, and I didn't show this in the previous level, but you can actually select individual units for giving orders with the C-stick. It's one of the best uses of the C-stick on the entire GameCube, in my opinion. In fact, that and Smash Brothers are probably the only games I can think of that actually use the C-stick. Well, for anything that isn't the camera anyways. So we're gonna shoot up that spy from the previous level. He has eluded us for long enough. And here we have an explosive ammo dump. I never properly demonstrated what this does. Well, I guess I should have expected that. Obviously, when you shoot it, it blows up. And that can be used against the enemy, but it can also cause you to get killed as well. So you've got to be careful around those. Coincidentally, the ammo dump we destroyed in the previous level was right next to barbed wires that was keeping the recon from escaping. Which it probably could have smashed over. Anyways, okay. Let's try this once more with feeling. Now you'll notice that T-copter dropped our soldiers in the cutscene. T-copters are unplayable in this game, but you'll get to shoot them up a lot. And just another demonstration of the amount of detail in this game, many level objects are in fact destructible. In the case of tents, you can often find things in them as a matter of fact. And here I'm trying to get my soldiers to shoot at the spy without me doing it, but I just leave him alive until he sits next to the dump and gets blown up by it. I seriously never used that trick enough in all of my years playing this game, because obviously, when you're playing a game for the first time, you just do what the game tells you to. So there's a couple more enemies here. The game is pretty much going to tell me how to do things that I already knew about. You can obviously roll out of the way of getting shot, but you'll probably just get shot anyways, because you can't shoot while you're doing a roll. Here you can see me changing the camera with the control pad. Unfortunately, there's only 2 camera angles you can pick from. I never really liked that. I think it would be best if the control pad just controlled the camera like what the C-stick does in games like Wind Waker. And here I'm trying to shoot these sandbags out with bullets, but you actually can't do that, and I didn't realize that until a little later. Sandbags are interesting because if an infantry unit is sitting behind it, he will actually take reduced damage from most attacks, including tank shells, which is odd, but here's an MG nest. Most of the time, enemies will take control of MG nests before you can get to them, but if you get to them first, you can use them, and they have some pretty destructive firepower. And look at that range, it's beautiful. So this is all too easy. You have to wonder, in war games like this, the tutorials always make the enemies seem much more incompetent than they are when you take control of them, and that's... oh goodness. When we get to the sequel, I will say that Battalion Wars 2, I did not like it as much as Battalion Wars 1 for a number of reasons. Basically, the only reason you want to play Battalion Wars 2 is for the multiplayer, which on May 20th is no longer going to exist, by the way. Oh boy. They're also using these fallen logs as cover, but you can do that too. Basically, just get around the logs and you'll be okay. they can't really kill you quick enough for you to not be able to kill them, because they only send 1 or 2 rifle grunts at you at a time, and you have like 4 of them. Now, I will say that this next group of enemies coming up, I do not like it very much, because what your CO does is that he actually calls in a bombing strike against you here. Now, he really doesn't have any reason to do that, because I could just take out these enemies just fine, but he has to soften them up a little because it makes him feel good inside. That's really all it is. And there's also an MG nest that the enemy conveniently doesn't use. And I'm sorry, am I playing Advanced Wars 2 again? Yeah. There were also explosive barrels sitting next to the barbed wires, keeping the prisoners in. POWs are a pretty common thing in this game, and actually I'm gonna save the jokes about it for later. But basically, POWs in this game are going to get you wondering things. They're also your only source of reinforcements. This game doesn't have anything like factories or airports that produce more units for you. And I have no idea why that door was there. I thought it would lead to something, maybe, but then I realized, no, it doesn't lead to anything, and what the heck just happened there? See, that's what I like about this game. The potential for cool things to happen is so high, whether the game designers intended it or not. So we're about to get a cool new unit, and I must admit, when I saw this baby, I went, oh man, we're playing for real now. We just got a tank. It controls pretty much the same as the grunts, except obviously it's slower, and despite tanks being all-terrain vehicles, it can be very tricky to mess with. Because, like, if you're going over rough terrain, there's a chance the tank might get stuck or something. The physics aren't exactly perfect. Now, obviously the tank has a cannon, and that'll obviously take out the grunts in, like, 1 hit. But for this level, the main draw of the tank is that it has increased defense against machine guns. And naturally, there's nothing but machine guns in this next section right here. This is the last section of the level. So coming up here, the game warns you after destroying a few of these recons that a bunch of bazooka veterans are approaching, but they don't really explain what a bazooka veteran is. Bazooka veterans are basically rifle grunts, except they've got rocket-propelled grenades, which would be a threat to my tank here, except you can destroy them with the ammo dump, just like that. Admittedly, I didn't get all of them. There are still a few more. The game has a sort of rock, paper, scissors thing going on here. Bazooka veteran beats tank, beats infantry, beats bazooka veteran. But of course, the tank has the ability to run over the bazooka veteran. So if you're good at avoiding them, if you're good at avoiding the bazooka shots, then hey, you can just take them out like that. Of course, if you're surrounded, that's still a pretty dumb idea. The recon can also run them over, and recons are a little faster. So there's that.
Outstanding! Don't you just love the smell of victory in the morning?
Enjoy your petty triumph, General. This battle has only strengthened my resolve to crush the frontier once and for all.
Near perfect score there. I was a little too slow, but that's alright. Next time we'll take on the next mission. And we'll get some bazooka veterans of our own at that time.